Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. I'm in Luminar 4 today, and I'm playing with a sunrise photo. And I love to get up and shoot sunrise. It's actually my favorite time of day to shoot. But I will admit, I don't do it as often as I'd like to, simply because I'm sleeping. But it's always rewarding to me. And this is a photo from a long time ago, probably 8 years ago or something. I'm not sure. But I was in the Texas Hill Country, and I got up early and ran out and just happened to find a nice little scene. So here we go. Here's the base scene, and that is just like a fence, sunrise. The sun's just peeking over the hill. I was going to say mountain, but this is Texas, so not a mountain, a hill. Got the nice fence line and that sort of thing, but as is typical with sunrise and sunset shots, the sky's brighter, the foreground's darker, so had to work on the light and a number of other things. Anyway, after a few minutes in Luminar, I turned it into that. So I thought I'd walk through my workflow and share some tips and tricks along the way. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Hit that thumbs up button if you like my videos. That helps me by telling YouTube that you like what I'm doing. And of course, leave a comment and let me know what you think. And we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to hit reset and we're going to jump into it. Okay, here we go. Here's the base unedited photo, spots in the sky and everything. The first thing I normally do in this case, I'll often start in the light tool with photos, but on something like this, I'll generally go to AI Enhance and get AI Accent and just drag this and kind of see what it looks like. And in this case, I went to about 48, which is, fairly high, about halfway, but it did a great job. I mean, that alone, that's why I like these AI filters so much. They save me a lot of time, and that's really what it's about for me. So I was able to take it very quickly from, hey, too dark and the light's imbalanced to, hey, I got something I can work with here. So I was pretty happy about that. Then I pop over to light, and this is where I'll add a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to do like, 25 or something on smart contrast, 26, 27. But adding contrast by definition is adding back some shadows. So I'm going to bump up the shadows a little bit because I don't want to lose what I gained from the AI accent filter. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here. And in fact, now I go back over here and I hit it with Sky Enhancer. And that's pretty light, maybe a 20 or something like that. Again, I'm just kind of balancing out the light. I'll get to colors here in a little bit, which I always love to get to, but that's my base photo, and that's my current state. So I already feel like I'm liking it quite a bit more, and I've done it, I think, in just a couple of moments, done a great job of balancing out the light. Okay, being kind of a colorful scene, one of the things I always love doing is amplifying color. So I'm going to go saturation like 3, and that's kind of a global impact, and then vibrance of, whoops, that's a little too much, maybe like 17 or something. That kind of helps kick some of the non-dominant colors. I'm just trying to bring up a little bit of the vibrancy overall, and saturation vibrance, great job with that. Okay, and as often the case with landscape photos, you have some elements where you want to amplify details and others where you don't. And that's the same case here. I want to bring up a little bit of detail in that foreground, but I don't want it in the sky. So I often use medium detail on my photos, and I'm going to go to about 30 here, and that's just giving it a little bit of crunch. However, that is a global impact. So what I'm going to do is get the mask and the gradient, and I'm going to drag the gradient right here. Something about like that. So what I'm doing is basically applying the detail to the foreground, but not the sky. So I'm going to say done, and let me show you the mask. I'm going to say edit mask and brush, and if I click on that, you can see it. But here's the thing, maybe I want a little bit of detail in that tree too. So even though you used a gradient mask, you can then go click brush mask, and I can just go paint some of this in. So maybe I want a little bit there, maybe a tiny bit like that, maybe a tiny bit like that. And the truth is, those areas are small and kind of distant, especially the stuff on the tree line there. You're probably not really going to notice it, but regardless, you have the ability to go back in and customize that gradient mask with the brush. And so you end up with a little bit custom mask basically. So I use a gradient to cover a huge part of it, and then the brush mask to come in and sort of fine tune it. Now, golden hour is something I love to use on these kind of scenes because it gives that nice warm glow. I'm gonna go to like 25, 26, and that's just hitting the entire photo, but I think it works here. It's already kind of a warm photo, but I like to keep the blue in the sky. I don't want to lose that blue in the sky through my editing because the blue and the gold, I think, play really well off of each other. So I want to keep that even though I'm accentuating the golden hour here. And so one more thing I'm going to do is pop over here to Pro. I'm going to get adjustable gradient, and I'm going to say set orientation. I'm going to collapse this a little bit, and move it up maybe about like that. Say OK, and on the bottom, I'm going to go to a warmth of about 55. So again, I'm just increasing that golden glow that's hitting the bottom of the photo. But the other thing, if you noticed, let me turn this off. The fence is looking a little bit blue. And unless a fence is painted, it probably should not look blue. So that's another reason I hit the bottom of the photo, which is where the fence is, with this warmth. I think it gives more of the effect of that golden hour, and of course the sun, the rising sun hitting that bottom of the photo as it comes over the hill. But also, it's negating that blue color in the fence. Now, it's not entirely done, and we're going to fix that in a minute, but I think it's done a good job. So far in this layer, I've gone from there to there. I'm liking it quite a bit. But as I said, that was what I've done on this layer. And now note, I've already used color filter on this layer, so I want to use it again. I'm going to go get a new adjustment layer. So plus, add new adjustment layer. I'm going to go over here to color on this layer. I'm going to get the blue. I'm going to take the saturation down about -30 or so. And again, I'm just hitting that fence again. And so to do that, I'm going to say gradient mask. And I'm just going to drag that gradient mask here, something about like that. And done. All I've done is taken a -32, let me look again, -31 in the blue, and then use the gradient mask to just stick it on the bottom of the photo. So again, I'm just further reducing the blue tint that is hitting that fence. And I had to do that on this additional adjustment layer because I'd already used the color filter on the previous layer. Okay, and while I'm here, I want to soften up the sky a little bit. So I'm going to say AI structure. I'm going to say like -33, 34. That looks fine. And once again, I'm going to use a gradient mask because I don't want to soften the foreground. If you recall, I added detail to the foreground in the on the previous base layer. So I'm going to say gradient mask, and I'm going to drag this down here, something like that. So that's basically applying it to the sky, if you look. And I'm going to say done. And then once again, I'm going to use my little trick with the brush, which is go get the brush, and I'm going to come over here to erase, and I'm going to erase that negative structure from that tree. So you can see where I just did that. And, again, not a huge impact in terms of your ability to notice that, but because I added the detail to the tree, I did not want to come back and then cover it up with negative structure. Now, on that previous layer, I could have copied that mask and then painted it here, but again, it was a couple of seconds, so I didn't really worry about that. But just keep in mind, you can add a gradient mask and then come back with that same tool, use the brush mask, and customize the shape or the application of it. Now, while I'm on this layer, I like to pop over here to Mystical, and I just like the look. This is purely optional. I'm going to go to about 45 or so. And as you can see, it adds a little bit of shadow, a little bit of what I call romantic moodiness. I don't know, I kind of like, well, not kind of, I like it a lot. And on sunrise scenes, to me, like the sun is just coming over the hill, so it's starting to flood the light. The light is starting to flood the valley, let's call it. But I still like to have a little bit of shadow. I don't want to totally reveal everything, and I just like to do that a lot in my photos. So that's an editing technique I use a lot, is adding back shadow regardless of how I do it. In this case, I'm adding it with Mystical. So here's before. There's no Mystical. You can see it's a lot more visible, and there's nothing wrong with that look. I like that too, but I really liked when I added Mystical, and there it is with Mystical. It's not significant, but it's just a little bit of shadow, which adds a little bit of contrast, and to me, as the name implies, a little bit of mystery to the photo, which I like. But having done that, I'm going to go back over here to this primary tab, the Essentials tab, and I'm going to get AI Accent. I'm going to give it a tiny little bit of bump because I don't want to lose all my visibility into that foreground. I like a little bit of shadow, a little bit of contrast, but the sun is hitting it, so just to keep it real, for lack of a better word, I'm adding a little bit of AI Accent to bring that visibility back up. So let me turn that off. There it is, before adding this AI Accent, and after. Just a little bit brighter, but I still think I have a nice little bit of shadow and contrast thanks to the Mystical tool. And now I'm really about done with the photo. So here's the before and the after and the sliding window. I think we've come a long way. Now I still need to get the eraser tool and go get those spots out. But as far as the editing, that's really it. There's one more thing I would do. In this photo, I don't really need to, but it's something you might want to consider, and that is adding sun rays. Now, I shot this at f13, so I've got a pretty decent kind of like sunburst there, but if you wanted to, you could accentuate that with the sun rays filter. So just place the center on top of that, and then maybe come over here and add a little bit. I would recommend being careful. I'm going to take the overall look down and definitely take the sun rays length down, because if you're not careful, you might have sun rays that are creeping over the fence, and it's very unlikely the sun ray is going to be in front of the fence just because it's not going to line up that way. So you might change the number of sun rays. You might, I would definitely take this radius down and the radius glow and the glow amount down, just because I'm not trying to oversell it. I've already got a nice little sunburst there. I might randomize a little bit, something like that. It's not a massive difference, but there's before, there's after. You can see it added also a little bit of shadow in the photo. So again, this might be, hey, I'm going to go back over here to AI accent and maybe give it a little bit stronger boost. Maybe I'll go to 30 or 35, something like that. Let me show you one more time. Sun rays off, there it is off, and there it is on. Not a massive difference. I don't really need it in this photo. It's just an idea or a tip or something to keep in mind. As I said though, I would just be careful with it, because you don't want to have those rays look too fake or dominate the photo, especially because I've already got a nice sun ray kind of starburst thing going. So that's really it. The only last thing I need to do is go get these spots out. So I'm going to get the eraser tool and do that, but I won't share that in this video. The eraser tool is quite easy. I've got a video about it there if you'd like to check it out. And that's it, my friends. One more time. Here's the before and after. Oops. There's before, fairly bright in the sky, fairly dark in the foreground, which is typical of a landscape photo, whether it's sunrise or sunset. And after, there it is. The only thing I look at now is maybe it might think the orange is a little too dominant, and I'm kind of thinking that. So color, notice I've already got the mask for the foreground because I did that with the blue. Maybe I come over here with orange and I take that saturation down a little bit, something like that, and that makes it a little less intense, and I kind of like that. So anyway, the point is you can customize and play with this stuff all day, and that's one of the things I love about Luminar. So I'm going to go finish this photo up with the eraser tool, but that's it, my friends. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope this gave you some ideas, some tips, that sort of thing, perhaps some things you can use to experiment with on your own photos. Thanks again for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't hesitate to share, and of course, if you have any comments, leave them down below. I'll be talking to you soon, my friends. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Take care, and adios.